Hey, we are crawling on all fours, and today I'm going to replace the rear axle on my HobbyPlus CR18P EVO Pro model. What I'm doing is I'm addressing the torque twist that's commonly found on these little crawlers. When you give it a lot of input on the throttle, it tends to twist a little bit. I'm addressing that by replacing the rear axle. The rear axle itself is made of plastic. This is the differential. This is the differential gear, and this is the input gear from the rear drive shaft. So when the rear drive shaft spins like this, the differential gear then also spins, and it transfers the energy, the rotational energy, to the axles that are within the housing here. These are portal axles, so there's some additional gears that then turn the hubs. We won't get into that deep detail, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this apart. I'm going to take out this differential gear, and we're going to put it all back together in this new axle. This is the V2, the version 2 axle, which has been revised. If you notice, the main difference between these two housings is the shape of the differential housing itself. The stock cover on the top here, I can only position this differential with the gear on the right-hand side. Whereas, because this is a little bit more square, I can flip it in either direction. So the EVO Pro driveline is configured to rotate in the same direction. That means both the front and the rear drive shaft, if you notice, they're turning in the same direction. And back to the torque twist and the chassis itself, everything that is connected here is it's static. It's not doing anything. It's not mechanical, it doesn't move, nothing. It's just static. So everything that moves, like the gears, the motor, it's creating energy. So the transmission, which is basically right there, it's transferring that energy into rotational force, and then once it does that, because everything is moving in the same direction, as it builds up that force, it causes the twist. So if you're moving in the same direction and you want to eliminate that rotational force, you would simply move the drive shaft from this output gear to that one. Let's put this in a mathematical perspective. If the rotational force on the front drive shaft is 1 and it's rotating the tires, and let's just say the value, we put this in a numerical value of 1, the rear drive shaft is moving in the exact same direction, so that's also a numerical value of 1, okay, because they're both moving in the same direction. Now, because of that, 1 plus 1 equals 2. So now we have a 2 being our rotational force, our combined rotational force. I want to eliminate that, but I still want everything to rotate. So if I go the other direction, using that secondary output gear, and then cancel because the direction would be moving in the opposite direction of the front drive shaft, then that means that value would be -1. Okay, if that's a +1, then that would be a -1 because it's moving in the opposite direction. So a +1 and a -1 cancels out the rotational force, and that will eliminate the torque twist. Here's the tricky part. If I connect the drive shaft to the opposing output gear, what happens? This is going to move in an opposing direction as well. Therefore, the rear wheels would move in an opposite direction to the front wheels, and I'd be going nowhere. So if I can flip the differential gear to the other side, well, now I've just changed it so that it moves in a normal direction, so that I'll be moving forward no matter what. But I can't do that with this particular axle because of the shape of the differential housing. I can only put it in that direction, which is why they revised it with this more square housing so that I can put the differential gear on that side or that side. Now, I wasn't really having a big issue with the torque twist itself, but the reason I bought this new cover was because this axle broke. This is the mount for both the rear shock and the rear link. Front and the rear axles are exactly the same. It's just different portal covers and C-hubs and whatever else are connected to it. But this particular axle only has this single mount for the links as well as the shocks. But what happens when you extend out this bolt, extend out this mounting bolt further and further? You create a lot more tension on this mount right here. Now, shortly after I purchased the EVO Pro, I bought these new wheels because the stock wheels were plastic. These are aluminum, but they're still pretty lightweight, but I did like the look, and they fit the 1.2-inch tire no problem. Prior to this video, I had mounted Jora's 1.3-inch Klingon tires with a 1.3-inch brass wheel. And these brass wheels are really, really heavy. So with two of those heavy brass wheels, it created a lot of weight. I also have a brass diff cover that I purchased from Power Hobby. Looks really cool, but unfortunately I can't reuse it on the new axle cover because of its shape. So what do you think happens when you combine the weight of the axle, the differential cover made of brass, the hubs, which are made of brass, the heavyweight wheels and the tires? You have all of those pieces together, and let's say the truck takes a tumble. Well, that weight is going to shift and cause a lot of stress on the mounting points. But here's the kicker. This new version has individual mounts now for the shocks and the links. So the links will go on the inside here and the shocks will go on the outside. It's not a direct replacement because I only have hardware for this. So what I had to do was I bought some hardware. I got the EVO Pro ball stud set. I've got the EVO Pro screw set. I ended up buying two of these kits. So I've got a bunch of hardware down the road if I need to replace anything else. So I've taken out the portal covers. I still have these inside covers I need to take off. There's a couple screws I need to loosen and take those off. And those are going to be a direct bolt-on replacement onto the new axles. I did not opt for the bearings, so I'm simply just moving the bushings over from the old axle to the new. All right, so this is the moment of truth. You can see that the front drive shaft and the rear drive shaft are rotating in opposite directions, but my wheels are rotating in one simultaneous direction. So you can see on this front axle, the differential is located on the right side. And this being the old axle, this would have been the position of the old axle, and the old differential being on the right side versus the left. So that's all you have to do. It takes a little bit of time because it's a lot of small parts, but now I've got even weight distribution when I apply that force, when I apply that throttle. So any sort of rotational force is canceled out. And now I've got a smooth drivetrain all the way through. So I hope that if you've got an EVO Pro crawler like this, that this will help you in your next upgrade. Again, the part was pretty inexpensive. It was only about $8 or $9 plus shipping. And then I also, just for reference, you will need to buy a screw kit. So you'll need to buy the 240-384 EVO Pro screw kit. This will give you the additional screws that you need, as well as the, here we go, the 240-383 ball stud set. That's going to give you the ball studs that you need to go in between these posts here in order to secure the links and these shocks. So all in, I mean, you're looking at about maybe $15 or so. But again, it's a very inexpensive upgrade to correct a known problem, as well as reinforce the mounting points for the shocks and the links should you decide to upgrade and add more weight to the wheels on the outside. So that way, if you are causing a lot of stress on those joints, if you're falling or tumbling, it's not gonna snap those posts out of place. Please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this in the future. And as always, keep crawling.